one of the highest per person productivities with a group of over 60 agents, roughly on average last year, closing 30 transactions apiece. Perennial number one team in Canada, perennial top 2, 3, 4, or 5 team in the world. My good friend and elite team leader, Justin Haver. Justin, thanks for taking the time today.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me here today.
You bet. So let's, everyone wants to know, certainly, how do you do that? But let's go back to the beginning. It's a great story. How did you get into real estate? What were you doing before you got into real estate?
Well, before I got into real estate, I spent several years working for a local cable company doing high-speed internet installations. Departed from that company, and then I was doing satellite installations, which, every winter I would climb up on snow-covered roofs and try to install a satellite dish, shaking in the knees. Definitely questioned myself a few times when I was doing that because, the knees get a little shaky when those rooftops are snow covered up here in Canada. So ventured into the business in 2005 and, the rest is really history. I was very fortunate to have a great mentor and friend to welcome me into the business.
Yeah, well, and the great part is that mentor and friend that's helped you has been a team member now for how many years?
Well, we partnered up for the first few years when I got into the business, and then we had a few years apart. And then back in 2013, he came back on the team, and he's been now on the team for the last 9 years.
Oh, that's so good. When you got up and going, and how long were you in the business before you started to recognize, hey, because the first part of it is, listen, I need to sell some real estate. I need to do some transactions, which is really a job. How long were you in the business before you started to recognize, hey, listen, I'm getting too busy and this can really grow into a business for me? Talk to me about that moment. When did that happen for you?
I got to laugh a bit because it's been quite the journey. It all started really when I was sitting in the classroom and getting my real estate license. The instructor, he said to us, look around this room, and in 2 years' time, there will only be 2 of you left in this business. And I looked around and I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I going through this course if that's the failure rate? So, coming from a bit of an IT background with, seeing where the internet was going, I knew that I had to invest into an online presence to generate leads. And that honestly became an obsession for many, many years and probably still is today, to be honest. And with that came a lot of opportunities. And, working alongside my mentor is like, hey, we got all these opportunities. What do we do with them? He's like, oh, you just work with them, sell them houses. And it wasn't really until, for many years, I was just operating, for the first 4 years, I was operating just as an individual agent. I would just hand out these opportunities to like 4 or 5 agents in the office and then collect a referral fee. So, the brokerage that used to be at, they basically said, hey, as of January 1st, 2010, you have to operate as a team. So, okay, I guess it is what it is. So that's when the team started. Not something that I was striving to do or anything like that, but, it happened and it was one of the best things ever. And it wasn't until September of 2012 when I went to a conference and started collaborating with, some other people in the same kind of, marketing avenues as myself. And, one of them is still a very, very good friend and mentor today, Gary Ashton. Yeah. Right. And it was sitting at a table in a restaurant down in Miami Beach, where the light bulbs went off. Like, oh my God, I have all these opportunities. And I still remember Gary said, when he heard a number of leads I was generating with only 4 agents, he just put his hand on the table. He's like, you need 100 agents. And I'm like, you're crazy. Why would I want 100 agents? Like I didn't fathom that I had that many opportunities that were being missed out on.
Mm.
So that's really when it just started kind of clicking for me. And obviously, kind of had to learn the business from a whole different perspective and really dive into, growing the team. And we grew from 4 agents to 28 agents in a single month with one assistant, and we didn't really have any systems or anything like that. So yeah, it's been a learning curve, to say the least.
So if looking at your progression after that one assistant, did you go to ISAs immediately, transaction coordination? What was your progression in the early years as far as staff wise hiring?
For many years, probably up until about, I'd say 2015, we were just running with 1 or 2 assistants, admin people.
Wow.
And, I was doing a lot myself, and I was still selling myself as well. It got to the point where I had to make a choice because I realized that I was really burning the candle at both ends. It was, if I was going to continue on, I would probably give myself a heart attack or something. The anxiety and the stress levels were way up there. So, I was very fortunate to, have Tom Davis join the leadership group, because I actually asked him if he knew anybody that would be interested in a management position, because I needed help to run the business. And he said he would keep his eye out, so to speak. And it was a Saturday night. I got a text message from him. He was out camping, and he's like, "We should, right?" So bringing Tom aboard, and then really just helping with the business aspect of it, management, and then we have grown now where we have 20 support staff. And believe it or not, we only run with 2 ISAs, and we run that as an internship program for agents or newer agents that are getting into the business in the process of getting licensed. So we hire them on for typically 6 months to a year, depending on how long it takes them to get their license. But we try to set a timeline on 6 months maximum, and really kind of get them ingrained into the culture of the team, into the systems, into the processes. And we all know the one thing that most agents resist doing is prospecting. And by getting them into the ISA role, I mean, we're building some good foundational habits right there.
Yeah, really good. What is along the way? What would you say is, you went to 28 agents. Because the one thing that I've seen is every single team, including your closest friends, peers, mentors, you 3 just collaborate so closely. Gary and Chris and you included. Talk about the ups and then you lose some agents and then that next step, because and talking to all 3 of you guys have all gone through that. And if you look across the board with all the large teams, they all do that. Talk about that process and what you've learned in that experience. And is it a good thing or is it a bad thing?
You know what? I think it's a good thing. Clearly, when you're going through it, it is not fun at all. I remember in 2017, which is when we first started working together, it was, quite the roller coaster ride. And I remember sitting in Los Angeles at your conference, and I was contemplating whether or not to shut everything down, questioning why I was doing what I was doing. But, there are times we kind of sit in the so-called shit storms, and, we just navigate through them. And one of the things that we have learned that, clearly there's, in some circumstances, unfortunate to lose some people of the team, but in other cases, it's perhaps not a bad thing. Maybe they had a negative mindset around the team and the opportunities and what the team were providing, and might have been a little bit of a negative impact on the culture. So what we have learned is that, we typically will bring in new people, we'll hire them at a higher standard. And we create now a new subculture within the organization. And really what happens is it kind of brings up the productivity, because the agents that have been there longer, they start looking over their shoulders and they're like, why are they selling 50 houses in their first year? And then you get them up in front of their room and you ask them, so John, how are you making this happen? And 99.9% of the time they'll say, well, I'm working really hard and I'm just following the process. I'm doing what you guys are telling me to do. Right. So, we constantly strive to constantly be recruiting, constantly looking for great talent to bring on board, and hiring people at a higher standard and holding them to that standard.
Really good. The first thing that I think in my conversations and the work that I've done is people see the transactions you do, and Gary and Chris and your peers, and they want to get so much into the science of it, of where are the leads coming from, and not to minimize all of that, what tech stack and all that stuff. If you could pick one of the two that was most important, you had to pick one. It's the tech, it's the leads, and just being the absolute expert at that, or it's the human behavior, the relationships. There's that part of it. Which one would you say is the absolute, it stands out the most between the two, or do you think they're really, really close?
It's funny you bring that up. Pre-2017, I was all focused about the leads, the systems, the conversion, the transactions. And then I shifted to focusing on the people, their experience, acknowledging them, and really nurturing the relationships within a team, creating a safe environment for everyone to be open, vulnerable, to feel supported, and really to also, with permission, to hold them accountable to a process. And, that in itself has, it changed the direction of the organization. And, looking at where we are today, that is still top of mind. And one of the top priorities within the organization is to continue to focus on how can we create a memorable experience for the agents and staff within our organization to allow them to have a fulfilling life, and really at the same time create a 5-star client experience over and over for all of our clients that we get to impact.
I want to point out something in that, because I want to go back to that time, and I don't remember where you were at transaction count. It was the 600s or 700s or more, but you were in 2017, you were a top team in Canada. And I want people to hear this, you were a top team in the world. Everything would look like going across stages, which you're very uncomfortable with. You're very uncomfortable with the marketing. I've hung out with you, and it's like people are looking at you because you've got to do this marketing stuff. And I remember talking to you, and there were times where you said, I'm sorry, I went ghost. I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. And yet on the outside, it would look like he's got the greatest life in the world. And I want to bring up resiliency, because people that don't know you, and I've gotten to know you as a great, on the surface, people see this operator, but your heart is in this thing more than anything, big time. And so if you're coaching someone, a team leader, someone's listening to this or watching this, Justin, how do you, because I think the difference is certainly the brilliance in your marketing and all those things. But many people, I think, that don't go, they can't get past that pain of what you go through when people leave. What did you go through, and where have you grown personally? What did you have to accept in this process of growth? Because I know, listen, I had a mentor, he had 1,200 agents, and he says, John, I don't care how big you get. It's a shitter when someone leaves you. What have you had to do with mindset personally and heart set to be able to say, whoa, people leave, that doesn't feel good, but I'm going to keep going?
It has been the journey of looking inward and really looking in the mirror as well. And first and foremost, taking full responsibility for everything that happens, good and bad, in the organization. And, and it's also diving deep inside to myself and figuring out what my deep-rooted pain has been all my adult life, the emotional jail that I've lived in myself throughout most of my life until, a few years ago. And my biggest deep-rooted pain as an adult has been abandonment. So when anyone has left, whether it's been, the ending of relationships or marriage or people leaving a team, it's that same pain, right? So once I discovered what the root of that was and diving into, typically as human beings, if we have any deep-rooted pain, it can actually be from our childhood. And once you get resolution around that, that allows the healing to happen. And when that happens, sure, you know what? It's always going to be a level of sadness when someone leaves the organization because, it's a work family. You bond with these people that you work with. You care about them. And, when we decide to mutually part ways, there's a level of, the grieving, or you're going to miss that person for sure. But at the same time, when you don't have that deep-rooted pain grabbing control over your heart and your emotions, it's much more acceptable. And you're able to navigate through those so-called waters with grace, humility, and, it's really that, like I said, that inward journey that is at times can be very difficult. Many people may not necessarily want to go that route and do that deep inner work, but I can tell you, it is transformational and how it can impact your life professionally and personally. You just got to choose whether or not you want to do it. And I'm glad I did. And I want to thank you for being my guide in that journey. And, it's, I wish I would have done it sooner, but, it always happens.
There's some things I wish I would have done sooner too. But what I say is, I guess I needed to sit in the classroom. I hadn't graduated, right? Well, let's talk about that, because one of the things that you do, I think that, so many people want to hear about all the good, how did you do more deals? How did you this and how did that? And I think it's just so much the underneath. There's one thing that you do that is so critical that very few do, and go into how you exit people, like what you do from it. Usually it's nothing is said and they move away. Talk about your philosophy, your feeling, and what you want it to feel like, and then what you do in almost every case of when you exit someone.
We always exit with grace and respect. And, we will always wish them the best. We hope that, they really learn something from their time with us, and we encourage them to spread their wings. Mm-hmm. It's not about how you say hello, but it's about how you say goodbye. Right? Because you never know what the future holds. And, what we do is we will sit down with the agents. We will create an exit plan on what happens with whatever business that they have on the go. If there's business that's going to go back to other team members on the team, what closings they have, and really to ensure that first and foremost, all the clients are taken care of. And if there's any team business that they're handed off back to their former peers on the team so that they can benefit from those opportunities. And we typically record a video. Actually, this last team meeting we had this week, we had two agents that attended the meeting, and both of them were talking and basically sharing with the team on a Zoom that they were leaving the team. It was a celebration of them.
What does that do versus, because historically, I think there was a time probably where you didn't do that, right? Where it wasn't open, they'd go and maybe there wasn't as much of an announcement. What do you think that does by being very open about it and announcing it? And I'm in your private Facebook group, and I've seen cases where you've sat with your arm around someone, and it's not manufactured, it's real, an appreciation for them. There's been all kinds of different things. What has that done versus exiting people? In other words, oh, they're gone, we don't say anything. What do you think that's done internally in your culture?
Well, I think it's, really makes people see that, you are treating them like people and you value them. And, it's, yeah, just brushing out the back door and not talking about them. I mean, again, everyone has contributed to the team one way or another, no matter how long they've been with the organization. Right. And we want to thank them for their time with us and celebrate them, it's, you never know what the future holds, right? We've had several people that have left and many have asked to come back. Right. Because, again, when you operate a team, and this is another thing too, like when agents start their business as an individual agent and come onto the team, they really see what benefits there are to being on that team. One of our agents who's been in the business for 26 years, who is on our team, he has a good analogy. He's like, as an agent on your own, you have to learn to cross a gravel road barefoot. It's not necessarily a comfortable walk to cross a road. But he's like, being on this team, it's like having soft, cushy shoes walking across that road. It's pretty comfortable. So, so you have that component, but then the agents that start their career on a team, I find that, if they have low ego, they will do really well because they can really achieve a lot of success. But the minute that ego starts to creep in and they're like, this is easy, I am a rock star. Yes, I'm not saying they're not a rock star if they're doing 50, 60, 70 deals or 40 deals in a year. They clearly have bought into a system and a process that is mutually beneficial for them and the team. But it's the moment they think they're better than the team, that's when it kind of gets into that little bit of a danger zone, So, it's an interesting journey to sit there and witness human behavior. I say it every day. I sit in a classroom every single day, especially when you're working with about 90 humans.
Well, let's go into that, because I think there's a couple of things, this has been, and I want people to see this, like how many years, Justin, would you say, what, John, I have been this many years focused, unwavering, increasing my budget, expanding the different people that I work with too, marketing. You've gone outside the industry for the highest level marketing experts in the world, literally, that's not exaggerating, with some of their accomplishments. How long have you been committed to this trajectory of, quite frankly, let's make it simple, creating opportunities for agents every single day?
How long have I been in the business? Since 2005.
So it's been since day one.
Years. Yeah. 17 years.
17 years. And when things got challenging, you've been through how many tough, there's people going through this market going, whoa, wait a minute. How many challenging markets have you been through?
3+. And
what has your strategy been? Obviously you're here, you're a fiscally responsible operator. What have you done from a marketing perspective in those type of marketplaces? Have you pulled way back, or did you pull back a little but stayed ahead of everyone else, and that was a time to separate yourself? What have you done in those markets besides not sleep? Because I know.
You know what? So one of the things that I've learned is one, you got to be consistent. And when the market shifts to the negative, I go all in. It's you pour on the gas and you really look to take on market share and get even more visibility. When I first got into the business, someone told me that you should invest at least 25% of your commissions into your business. And, I knew that you needed leads and opportunities in order to survive. And that is what I've been focused on for 17 years, is consistently working on generating more opportunities. In 2013, we started focusing a bit on going to different marketing avenues to kind of, get more of a brand in the marketplace. And, the way that the marketing machine is operating today, I mean, it's, one of the more prominent brands in the marketplace where, really agents have listing appointments. They just walk in and where do I sign? Right. It really helps with the opportunities that are generated through the internet because, they have and work under a known brand in the marketplace. So brand does transfer trust, whether it's from the brokerage level or from the team level. People have heard of our team here in the marketplace, and it's really beneficial. And yeah, when the market shifts, I mean, if you're pulling back on your marketing spend, your business is also going to pull back.
Well, and one thing I want to point out for those watching and listening, no Zillow. You are your own Zillow.
Yeah. And I mean, you know what? That hasn't come overnight either, right? It's really interesting because, I mean, so many people, and I think it's just kind of part of society nowadays, they want instant gratification on anything and everything, instant results. And, we got to look at, it's slow and steady wins the race. And yeah, I've invested tons into our online digital assets, and they haven't gotten to where they are today overnight. And there were several years where, they wouldn't have any ROI on them, but I stayed consistent with it because I knew it would come.
Very good. So with that said, the good news is, people, and I'm getting on my coaching calls now over the last couple, John, more lead sources. I need more lead sources. Should I consider more lead sources? And I think that's normal for people to think is, market shift. But what has it created though? Everything has its duality. What kind of agent has it, has it created? There's a couple of things, and we were talking about this before we came on, navigating through this. The expectations it's created of agents with the amount of opportunities you provide. And number two, the evolution of the consumer and their expectations just in the last couple of years. Talk about those things and navigating back to the agent and skills and expectations and all that. Maybe the challenging side of all the opportunities you have.
Yeah, the benefits of having really high organic visibility in Google with multiple websites in the marketplace is you get a ton of opportunities when the search volume is there. And, for the last couple of years, there's been times when we as a team were literally begging agents to take more showing requests.
You were jumping in the private Facebook group, man, begging help. I remember.
Yeah.
I'd see him like
so
help.
So that's the downside. You have to beg agents to take showing requests, leads that want to look at a house today, tomorrow, the next day.
Right.
And we had so many of them. And really what that did is we really, and again, I'm responsible for this because I guess because of all the marketing that I've done, we then trained the agents to really grab a lead, call, show, write an offer, and rinse and repeat. And that was just behavior that we trained them on. They would only want to lead if they wanted to look at a house. Give you an example. We have ISAs, and they also work with some of the lead sources. I think we have about 120,000 leads just sitting in a lead pool that's not assigned to an agent, that the ISAs are constantly working. And we had nurtured and warmed up a lead in that lead pool that wanted to look at a house or wanted to start shopping in 30 days. We assigned that lead to an agent on the team, and they asked, why am I getting this lead? They're not ready for 30 days. So, clearly, we helped create that environment. And I think part of what we as team leaders have to do today is we have to really untrain that behavior of the agents that we all have been accustomed to during the pandemic, because of the urgency of the consumer to get into the houses, the urgency to, acquire a property because of the market and the supply challenges that we've seen across North America. So the consumer behavior really trained the agent behavior. But now that, things are shifting, we now have to obviously, once again, pivot in the way that we operate as real estate agents, the way that we treat the consumer. We got to focus on nurture and relationships and really just be really, really good at it. And it's back to basics, because this is more of a normal market.
I think one of the things that I want to point out that you mentioned earlier, and I want to bring it back forward so people really capture this. The one thing that Justin mentioned is we are constantly, and you shared it on the Sunday Zoom once too, is every time we onboard people, we raise the standard. The onboarding has structure, but it's fluid. It has a fluidity where you can move that standard up. And with that said, I think it's a great example of, I forget what Tom said last year. Was it 20 brand new agents that year that sold over 30 homes?
A piece?
Yeah.
Tom is a numbers guy. So if that's what he said, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Quite possible. We had, again, consistently, we have agents that come onto the team here in the last couple of years that have sold a ton of real estate. Mm-hmm. Several agents, brand new 40, 50 plus homes in their first year in real estate, and with glowing 5-star reviews. So that is just really, a testament to, one, the onboarding, the training, the systems, and the support that we provide the agents consistently. If they have, as Tom says, fire in the belly, and they're coachable and they want to follow a proven system, again, it's mutually beneficial for the agents and a team when we have people that, buy into the process. As a matter of fact, even our top producer this month, had a couple of opportunities that, she'd been nurturing for well over a year. Right. And suddenly they popped, ready to buy, million+ properties. We have one buyer agent on the team, hasn't even grabbed a single lead all year, and has sold 30 houses already. And, it's interesting because as real estate agents, it's easy to get into the mindset of, I need just new leads, right? It's all about the new leads.
Well, don't you have also too, isn't your highest converter on the team like a ridiculous number? And, there's all kinds of exaggerations, and you're the guy that always, I'll be the one to say, hey, isn't it here? Well, no, John, it's maybe here. I mean, you're conservative. Your highest converter every year, I believe, takes the least amount of leads. Is that correct?
Yeah, it takes between 100 to 120 leads a year. And it converts between 40 and 46% for the last 2 years in a row. And these are internet leads, by the way, not flushed out or anything like that. It's
And
ridiculous.
he talks about it all. This is the interesting thing where the challenge is, Justin, because I don't know how many times, at least 3 team Zooms, maybe more over the years, where I've got the whole team on, I'll call him out and he'll tell them, but they're just so programmed into, no, I need more, more, more. It's a less is more game.
Oh, 100% less is more.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to go deeper with the ones that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just, again, with the tech stack that we use and the CRM with, automations and AI and, tracking to see really what the consumers are doing on, some of our 10 websites, we can really just focus on what they're doing and then be very strategic with how we touch them. And this is where it's almost like a game to him. Right? He's like, well,
he's not the guy you look at and think is a salesman, period.
But you know what? He's an exceptional agent. I actually got a text message from an agent that had referred his daughter and son-in-law, and they had an incredible experience with him. Right. So he's a great agent as well. But, when it comes to converting these opportunities, he takes full advantage of each and every one of them.
Isn't that great? Well, one of the things that's key, we talked about Tom and his leadership and how amazing he's been. It's certainly, you've developed leaders over the years, and talk about, I think most recently in the last year, two leaders you've brought forward, because I think many people in your place that are growing and, where do I find a sales manager, mentors, and all those type of things. Talk about the 2 most recent leaders, because I think it's just, okay, great. That person is in this role. Dan's in that role. How did that happen? What made you choose him? And then Mary Lou, who's in her role, and how did that happen? And how did you choose him? And how long ago? So talk about the choosing leadership, the development of leadership in their roles. I think that's always a challenge for people.
Yeah, and you know what? It can be really hard to find leaders from outside the organization, right? We were looking for leaders outside of the organization for quite some time, and we've been trying to find the right people, and it's all about the right fit. And, we also let the team know that we were looking for people in a leadership capacity within the organization. And, a few people raised their hands, and we went through an interview process. And, Dan was somebody that had management and leadership experiences outside of the real estate industry prior to coming into the industry. And, he has grown phenomenal. He's been with us for almost 3 years, but having watched him grow as a human being, both personally and professionally, and then now watching him grow into, a leader on a team, the team members are just so appreciative of him. And, it's going to be really fun to watch him continue to grow. That's something that, puts a smile on my face. And the other individual is Mary Lou. She was an individual agent outside of the team for 12 years. And, very nervous to come onto the team. I think she even shared that she was somewhat intimidated to come on the team as well. And, here's someone that was an individual agent, and their first year on the team, they 10x'd their income. Not only that, she is someone that was voted by all of our peers on the team as the spirit of the team person of the year, someone that's constantly contributing, helping, supporting her fellow peers. And, then we also run, the accountability groups, and she volunteered to run them. And she
volunteered before she took the role. That's what I want people to hear.
Yeah.
Justin's observing volunteerism.
Yeah, she volunteered to do that on her own, obviously with the support and guidance of yourself as well. She's, really just a student. She wants to learn, and she just soaks everything up.
And a single mom?
Single mom, yeah, of Mateo. And, she, She's now stepping into leadership role on a team as well. And she's super excited about that. You know, again, whenever somebody obviously lets go of what they're doing to go do something else, it's obviously a transition period, and there's always a little bit of fear. I mean, hey, when we got into real estate business, I'm sure we had a little bit of fear and doubt as well. It's just natural progression, but really it's just finding the right people within. And when we announced that Mary Lou was stepping into a leadership role on the team, she got a room full of applause because people were so welcoming of her as well. And, you know, Tom, you know, his biggest thing is just watching people develop. And that is his jam. He just gets so fulfilled out of that. And, you know, it's interesting when we first had the conversation with Mary Lou to see if she would be interested in a leadership role. Tom's like, I'm just going to let this percolate with you for a bit. And so it did. And, you know, she thought about it lots. And, you know, it's, again, going to be exciting to really have both of them grow as leaders within the team and watch them develop and help the organization move forward.
There's a few things that I want to point out in that, Justin. Again, it's me being really fortunate to ride along now 5+ years. I want to point out to people, it's taking people off the sales floor, like taking people off the sales floor. And most leaders won't do that. Oh my gosh, it's going to cost me. But as you've heard Justin talk about, he's a long-term player. He knows the return he's going to get from a business perspective on that person coming off the sales floor is a multiple of what that person would do. Same with Dan. It's the same thing with Dan, a person off the sales floor. But here's the thing that I want to point out the most that I know personally, while respecting each of their lives. Two things happened. Number one, both of their lives were impacted and changed from the time they came into this organization, period. Yeah. Number two, here's the one piece. When people are looking at leadership, they are both humble. Humility, I would say they're skilled. But if I had to pick a trait of them that is the most powerful them as leaders, is their humility. And the third thing to look past real quick is don't make assumptions that someone, because both of them are sacrificed. They could go and continue to grow massive businesses. Don't make the assumption that people are about money. You got to find that thing deep within their heart that really serves them, because both these people could make a lot more money selling houses. Fair enough, Justin?
Oh, 100%. You know, again, I think anyone that's in any sort of, you know, leadership or any role within a real estate organization, if you want to make money, be an individual real estate agent and sell real estate. Sky's the limit, right? But there is the human component to it, and getting fulfilled from helping, supporting others, watching other people spread their wings. That is one of the things that makes me really fulfilled, and what makes me wake up each and every day, do what I do day in and day out, push myself out of my comfort zone. You know, as you know, if I had it my way, I'd just be hiding in my basement. Can't really do that. I know. But you know what? Again, that's kind of, again, part of my journey is to continue to grow, and but at the same time, support the leadership group and support all the agents and staff within the organization. And that means you need to invest in your people. And you know, everyone in our leadership group gets personal coaching, right? And that helps develop them as professionals and as individual people. Because, you know, you talk about what shows up in your personal life will show up in your work. Weird how that works.
Yeah, it always does.
Right. But, you know, again, that's been one of the biggest ROIs in my company, has been investing back into the people day in and day out. Whether it's, you know, the one-on-one coaching within leadership, or whether it's, you know, the team coaching with yourself and the entire organization on personal development. And then at the same time, on top of that, now we're doing, the agent coaching with bill pipes, just again, providing them with guidance and some of the best coaching and training in North America or in the world for that matter.
Yeah.
And, the one thing that really stands out back in 2017, when I started this journey with you, I opened up to the team. And I was open and vulnerable about my own journey through personal development. And it was interesting. You said to me, the people that are comfortable with this will stay with you. And the people that get uncomfortable are going to leave. And you know what? That's okay. Because if they're uncomfortable and they want to leave, hey, no one's forcing you to be here. But the people that lean in and want to be part of something special, part of something that's way bigger than myself. I never had intentions of building a team. It just organically happened over the years. And this is bigger than me. It's got a life of its own, right? And when you pour into the people and you have the right people and they're all aligned, it's pretty incredible what you can accomplish.
I can't think of any higher note to close on, because that's what we know. You're not in the real estate business. You are in the human resource, human development, human behavior business. And going deep in that space has created an amazing business, but something where you get to continue to impact people's lives. Justin, I appreciate you. The friendship more than ever. That's more than anything, I should say. And it's been a wild journey, and it'll get even more wild over the next 12 months. Here we go. Right, brother?
Yeah. You know what? Again, thank you again for everything, John. Thank you for the friendship and the guidance. Next time when we go skiing, I'll listen to you.
All right. All right.
That's another podcast.
That's another podcast. All right. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.